to the Miami Heat Zone podcast. I'm your host, Martel Llewellyn. We're pushing the 5,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button and thank you for all the support. So today we have a huge Heat fan, Nathaniel Williams. Williams, let
Yes.
the people know where can they find you on Twitter before we begin.
My Twitter is Nate from Ohio. That's my Twitter tag.
Guys, make sure that you guys go to his Twitter, go look at his comments. He's always talking Miami Heat basketball.
Mhm.
So, Nathaniel, what is going on with this Miami Heat roster right now? We lost Caleb Martin. We don't know if we're going to pay Jimmy Butler. The East is continuing to get better. The New York Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks, the 76ers, the Boston Celtics, they're not going anywhere. People are saying Pat's asleep. People are saying that Mickey is cheap. What is going on with this Miami Heat roster?
Man, what's going on with it is this new CBA. That's what's going on with it, man. Um, it's putting a lot of damper on things where the flexibility, um, which we don't have, and so I think it's tough trying to maneuver around it. There are certain penalties that come with going over the second apron, which they're trying to monitor that, and it makes it tough because our roster, we're very top heavy. Where I mean, I'm not like full like sure of like the percentage of a part of the cap space where Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Duncan, and Terry, they're eating up a nice amount of the cap. So that's what's going on. Is the CBA, this new CBA.
So I always tell people too, because you're right. I don't think the Miami Heat are cheap, but the problem is that they're paying the wrong five guys
Yeah,
upwards of $20 million plus. When you're paying Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Terry, Duncan, people don't
yeah,
understand. When you look at other teams, because people were saying, well, how come Philly can do this? Because they're only paying Joel Embiid and Maxi. We're
that's
paying
it.
the wrong five guys $20 million plus, and the wrong. Now, my thing is, do you think that the Miami Heat got Jimmy Butler help over these few years? Because today we're gonna hit some of the big questions.
Mhm.
Do you think over the past few years did they get Jimmy Butler help? Because my thing is, I think they did and they didn't. I think a lot of things didn't go the Miami Heat's way in terms of injuries. If you would have told me that
Yeah.
Tyler Hero would have been injured every year, Kyle Lowry was injured, Victor Oladipo season-ending injury, Jimmy Butler
Hmm.
rolled ankle on Josh Hart. There's so many different things, but I don't
Yeah.
think that we talk about Kyle Lowry enough in terms of Jimmy Butler brought him over here, and Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler never held him accountable. And I don't know if you remember this. Jimmy Butler went to the podium and he even said, "Listen, Kyle Lowry's not going anywhere."
He did it. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said it like in a kind of like under his breath a little bit, like Kyle ain't going nowhere,
So,
And
so do you think that the Miami Heat got him help?
man, that's such a tough question. Um, because it's hard to say that because of the injuries, uh, you know, the lack of availability, and I feel like there were some players that we kind of let slip through. I understand why we didn't pull the trigger on Kyrie Irving. There was a lot of stuff going on when he was in Brooklyn. He was, really labeled as like a distraction, to the team because of where he stood with a lot of things. He wasn't even allowed to play. Was it away games? He couldn't play any away games at one point. So I think I understand why we didn't pull the trigger on that one. Obviously, Dame, that was no one saw that coming. I think a year ago today, when he made his request and said Miami only, we all thought it was like, hey, it's in the bag, it's a done deal, it's over with. And then obviously months go on, and then he gets traded to Milwaukee. Kevin Durant, uh, that that see, a lot of people don't understand that situation. Right before he joined the Warriors, Miami was trying to position themselves to sign him then. They were trying to make a push for him, and at the expense of that, they lost. We lost our legend at that time, Dwayne Wade. He wouldn't sign with Chicago, and it's back to your question. I think that they did their best trying to. again, Kyle Lowry was here because of Jimmy, and that was just a huge mistake. Surprisingly, he didn't hold Kyle Kyle Lowry like responsible for not staying in shape, um, just not really taking care of himself. And when you look at Jimmy, you can tell Jimmy is always in like top shape, tip top shape, and you can tell that he really takes care of his body. I just think that a lot of it's just a lack of availability. Um, you look at Hero when he came into the league, he had those performances in the bubble. I thought, hey, we might have found something here, and then since then it's just we have not seen the production in the playoffs. Um, I think for what it's worth, I think the front office did what they could. There were some players that they and again, not all players will fit in Miami. A lot of fans don't understand that they're not going to go out and get a guy that they know
We
for
don't talk about
sure.
that enough. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to bring no one in that they feel like he's not coachable. Even when LeBron was here, his first year, he was trying to get Spo fired, and Pat wasn't going for that. He said, "No, that's your coach, and you got to just live with it." They're not going to go out and bring a guy in that they know for sure because they do their research on these players. They ask around. They know what's going on. They're not going to bring no one in that they feel like is going to disrupt what we have going on. So that's I think the front office did what they could, and obviously they're
Yeah,
not
they
cheap.
Yeah, they could have done maybe a slightly better job in terms of. I think they went a little bit overboard with the undrafted thing. What
Yes,
do you think
yes,
about the Miami Heat? Pretty much letting all of their assets because think about it. We've let Caleb Martin leave, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Kendrick Nunn. And now I know a lot of people will say, well, at the time we couldn't trade them; they were so good. But to be honest, I think that one of the biggest mistakes that this front office makes is that you got to have good asset management. So what I mean by that
yeah,
is now we don't really have the tools to go get a Laurie, to go get a Donovan, to go get all these pieces because we don't have anyone. And then
yeah,
also too, let's say that we want to make a trade. Not everyone's gonna want to take on Tyler Hero's salary or take on Duncan Robinson's. What do they benefit from that? You know what I'm saying? So
right,
what do you think about the Miami Heat's asset management and do you think that it's worth giving Jimmy Butler that extension because he's an aging superstar? I think right now this team is leaning young, but they're not going to tell me and you that. They're not going to tell the fans that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I really do think this team is focusing on the future just based
hmm
off some of the things that I'm seeing.
I've been seeing it. It's like the signs are there, and see, I'm a Jimmy guy. That's my boy. But it does look like we are going to have to pivot and lean more towards Bam's window. Um, Jimmy is an aging superstar. I still feel like he can perform. Last year was just a freak injury with the Kelly Oubre situation. Before that happened, Jimmy was rolling,
But
and
but we got to hold Jimmy accountable because even his
we
agent
do.
came out and said, "Listen, there was, he was dealing with injuries, which is fine. But
Yeah,
then he said maybe there was maybe a few games where he just didn't want to flat out play. But I don't need Jimmy to play
we saw
82
that.
games. I don't need him to play 82. But you can't troll and okay, you know what I mean? So you're playing
Yeah,
60 games, but you're really only playing 40. And then when you're playing in some of them, there's only 8 shots.
yeah.
You're not there. You got to be the leader of this team.
We can all see as fans if you really watch these games, you can tell like, all right, Jimmy's out there BSing tonight. It's a lot of nights where I've looked at the score. I'm like, how many times is or sometimes I even watch the game like, is Jimmy even out there? He's not coming to the ball sometimes, and it's hard to tell like from game to game what type of player you're going to get that night from Jimmy. What type of performance you're going to get, and we do have to hold him accountable. If he's going to give us 60, 65 games, we need. I'm not going to say playoff Jimmy, but we need Jimmy to be engaged.
That's it. That's
We need
it.
him to be engaged. Absolutely. There was a game where I think it was reported said he was sick, and then it was like he was hanging out with Messi, and I did kind of question that. I like I zoomed in on the picture. I'm just like, oh, he looks all right to me, you know. So we do have to hold him accountable, but we also we need a number one. We need a number
So then,
one.
how can Jimmy Butler demand an extension and he's not a number one because we're paying him top dollar?
He
You know what
has
I
no
mean?
leverage. He has no
And I,
leverage.
you know what I mean? And I know he's gonna say, but
Hmm.
look what I've done. We gave him the money for that. We gave him a $150 million
Yeah,
max deal. You see what
yeah,
I'm saying? And the front office, they're always gonna think business first. That's what I'm
yep.
saying because I mean, please let me know. Do you think that we can go get a Trey Young or a Laurie Marketing? Do you think that we have the assets? And are you willing to technically go all in, give up Jaime Jovic, Tyler? Do you think that we even have enough to be in those conversations?
Not for Laurie, but I think I saw a report that Trey Young's value is pretty low
Yeah.
right now. It's probably the lowest it's going to be. Um, you look at the package that when they traded Dejounte Murray to New Orleans, and look what they got back in return. We could have beat that offer. You know, um, I don't mind taking a chance on Trey Young. I was totally against it a year or two ago when fans I would see fans talking about it and like, no, he's not that guy. But you know what? We could use someone that's a threat. Look at those high pick and rolls that him and Bam can run. Crossing half court. You know what I'm saying? Like he's really like a threat. Just like I'm not going to try to compare him to Dame or Steph, but he has range like that. When he gets hot, he can be very dangerous. I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him. We wouldn't have to give up a whole lot to get Trey Young. Um, Laurie on the other hand, we know what Danny Ainge loves. Danny Ainge loves those picks. But that is no secret. That's going back to his days in Boston. And also we don't know the relationship between him and Pat. Um, if they're ever going to do business together. So I don't see. Here's the thing. I'm kind of high on Jovic, but I would not mind getting rid of him if we were going to get Laurie Marketing back in return. But I feel like we have enough for a Trey Young situation. I just you know I just don't know how interested Miami is in him.
So let's say we don't get a star, and we're pretty much quote unquote running it back because as I'm looking at
Ooh,
this roster, it looks like we're running it back. I don't care what anyone says. It's very hard for me because I know that there's a report saying, "Oh, the Miami Heat are waiting for a star to shake loose." This Miami Heat team can't wait, wish, and pray for that at
we
all.
we technically not even running it back.
Yeah,
At least at least running it back, we would be entering training camp with Caleb, and we're losing guys here, and we
yeah.
can't like depend on rookies to come in here and save our season. Like that's not how it works. Rookies don't make impacts like this. Is not the NFL, you know. Like rookies, they take time to get adjusted. Um, ah, I,
So are you willing to trade Jimmy Butler? Because I always think that
ooh,
listen,
I knew you were gonna ask that.
we
I
got
knew
it.
it.
But the thing is though, as a franchise, every great franchise, well, like when you look, they trade a player before it's too late.
Yep. Yes.
And I love Jimmy Butler for everything that he did. Great memories, and it's a shame that we never won a championship and that the front office never put a better roster around him.
Yeah.
But you got to pivot, especially when you have primetime Bam Adebayo here. Are
Yeah.
you willing to trade Jimmy Butler to collect assets? Because we have a good young core so far. Maybe you
We
can go
do.
out and get a Jonathan Kaminga. Maybe you can get maybe one or two young players and then maybe some picks to come help this Miami Heat roster.
I think if we're going to trade him, um, I say let's see how he looks coming into the season. Let's see what's going on with the trade deadline. I would hate to have to see Jimmy go. And also a lot the this is a very unpopular topic. What's a popular topic because a lot of fans they don't want Tyler Hero here. A lot of fans don't want to include him, in the young core that we have. But the front office has expressed many a times that they consider him and Bam like the pillar.
But they have to.
You know,
They have to say that because think about it. He is technically part of our young core. I just think that he needs to be humbled. So what I mean by that is, I'm
I
not
understand.
saying that he can't be a starter, but
Hmm.
with the collection of guys that we have, it's about fit. And I think that Duncan Robinson at that position, starting with Jimmy Bam and Terry, that's a better
Yeah,
fit for the Miami Heat.
yeah.
Does that mean
See,
that Duncan's better than Tyler? No, but
no,
I
yeah,
think that Tyler's seen his best success clearly coming off the bench. That's why he won Six Man of the Year, and there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah. I was totally against the whole. I was pushing back on the Duncan starting over Hero in the throughout the regular season when Hero got hurt and Duncan had to start. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not blind. I'm like I see, and Duncan was playing some good basketball this past season, really good basketball before he hurt his back. Um, so I mean, I get it. I think in a more defined role, Tyler could still thrive here. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work. But even if going back to trading Jimmy, if we trade Jimmy, this franchise really don't we don't do rebuilds and we don't um, tank or nothing like that. So I can't see them getting back a whole bunch of like draft picks and stuff like that. I just don't know if that's how they're gonna go about trading someone like Jimmy. And then also, what team is really going to
No,
again
there's going to be teams. There's definitely going to be teams because remember,
that's going to want
all
to
these
pay him
teams.
at
I
his
think so.
age?
They're going to take a flyer on him because
Hmm.
remember, he's on his last deal right now.
Right. Yep.
They're going to trade for him because guess what? They want to try to make that miracle run. And
Yeah.
then like it was already like reported the Rockets, the Warriors, the
Hmm.
76ers. I mean, we don't know how true it is, but at least they put the
Yeah.
report out there that they're willing to pay Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, Jimmy Butler said he wants his money, and I can't blame him because everyone's getting paid across the NBA. So this is something that we really do got to think about. I don't want Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler just to walk out of here for nothing.
Yeah.
Like okay, like if we know we're not gonna pay him, don't let him walk out for nothing.
Hmm.
That's just me personally.
Like
You
we've been
know,
doing everyone else.
exactly. Um, Lastly, before we close, what do you think about the Khalil Ware pick?
Khalil Ware, I like his game. I saw the comparisons with like Derek Lively and I can see that, but I think he's a little more versatile offensively than Derek Lively is. Although Derek Lively has shown, he can knock down that three. If he can space the floor a little bit. I even saw someone comparing him to Hassan Whiteside, and I didn't quite see that comparison either. But he looks like he's going to be a very solid anchor, and especially alongside Bam. I'm very curious to see how that's gonna look. Is Bam gonna step out and and expand his game, shooting threes a little bit, and again we assuming that Jovic is still gonna be on the roster. He was the starting power forward. And Bam. So I think they're gonna pivot from that because Bam wants to play the four, and we think that we would get the best out of him at the four. But I like what I'm seeing from Khalil Ware for sure.
So once again, thank you, Nate, for coming on the show. Listen, I think that you definitely have some great insight, just like me, like on the Miami Heat in terms of Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, the team. So once again, where can people find you on Twitter so that they can see some of your Heat takes?
My Twitter name is Nate N8TE from Ohio.
Guys, make sure that you guys go to his Twitter, maybe hit that follow button. Guys, thank you for all the support. We're pushing to 5,000 subscribers, and we're out.
All right, peace.